He left before dawn. The forge was dark. Garrick was asleep in the back room, his snoring a low rumble that vibrated through the floorboards. William had left a note on the anvil. 3 days. Hold the forge. Thorngate's east gate opened at first light. William walked through it with Verdanth on his back, a pack of supplies, rope, water, dried meat, the silver knife, cloth collection bags, and his feet bare on the packed earth road. The guard at the gate glanced at him, nodded, and looked away. A 13-year-old with a sword was unusual, but not remarkable in a frontier town where children grew up fast. The road ended after an hour. The forest began. He'd been here before. The outer deep forest, the territory he'd hunted for 2 years as a nocturnal predator, harvesting herbs and monster parts. He knew these trees, knew the game trails, knew the dens of the wolves. The Moonveil Moss grew there, in total darkness, in mana-rich soil around monster dens. He had 1 bundle already, gathered during the spirit-binding trip. He needed 3, 2 more. The moss was the easiest ingredient on the list, and it was still deep in hostile territory. Let's go. The transition from outer to inner forest was gradual but unmistakable. The trees changed first. The outer forest was old growth, massive trunks, dense canopy, but still recognizably a forest. The inner forest was something else. The trees here were primeval, trunks wide enough to build houses in, roots that erupted from the ground like the bones of buried giants, bark that had been growing for so long it had developed its own ecosystem of moss, fungus, and small creatures. The canopy was absolute. No sunlight penetrated. The only illumination came from clusters of pale blue-green fungi that clung to fallen logs and the lower trunks of living trees, casting the forest floor in an underwater glow. Then, at the edge of his range, something heavier. He stopped, reached out through the verdant root. The signature was dense, hot, moving in a slow patrol pattern. 4 legs, long tail. Something about the weight distribution suggested a predator, low to the ground, weight concentrated in the shoulders. Divine Sage. What's at my 2 o'clock? Approximately 90 meters? Level 1822. He was level 18. With Verdanth, he could handle level 22 on a good day, but thorn beasts were armored, and his sword was designed for mana channeling, not armor penetration. Can I go around? Its territory extends approximately 200 meters in all directions from its current position. A detour would add 40 minutes to your travel time. He went through. The thorn beast sensed him at 60 meters. William drew Verdanth. The sword's green shimmer brightened in the forest's mana-rich atmosphere. The worm's resonance responded to the living world around it. Trees, roots, the dense ambient mana, and the blade's hum shifted into something sharper, more focused, like an instrument being tuned before a performance. He planted his feet. Breath. The verdant roots cycled. The earth beneath him pulsed. Level 20, right in his range. Don't let it launch. The thorns are the threat. Close the distance and stay close. The thorn beast's back rippled. The thorns rose, not sideways, not diagonal, straight at it. The thorn beast's attack was ranged. If he could get inside the launch arc, the thorns couldn't deploy. 8 meters. 6. The creature's eyes tracked him, mouth opening, and it made a sound like grinding wood. The thorns fired. He'd misjudged the range. They launched earlier than he'd expected. Divine Sage had said the launch distance was 5 meters, but this one triggered at 8. A spray of barbed projectiles filled the air between them, each one trailing a faint green aura, moving faster than anything that size had a right to. Then he was inside the arc, and Verdanth came down. The blade connected with the thorn beast's shoulder. The bark-like armor was tough, tougher than he'd expected, the scales layered and interlocking, designed to deflect blows from predators and adventurers alike. Verdanth bit into it but didn't penetrate clean. The sword lodged in the outer layer, stuck in the scales like an axe in a tree. The thorn beast didn't flinch. "Move!" He rolled. The thorn beast charged, slow, grinding, but inexorable, its massive head lowered like a battering ram. William scrambled to his feet, Verdanth still in his grip, and barely dodged as the creature's skull impacted the tree he'd been leaning against. The tree shuddered. Bark split. The thorn beast's head was a siege weapon. The armor. I can't cut through it from outside. Where's the gap? Secondary thorn clusters? Smaller thorns along the inner legs and belly, less dangerous than the dorsal thorns, but still capable of causing significant injury. Of course it had belly thorns. Why wouldn't it? William changed his approach. Not the sword. Not yet. The verdant root. He dropped to one knee and pressed his free hand flat against the earth. The forest floor was alive. Roots, soil, fungal networks, the interconnected web of life that the verdant root had been teaching him to feel for 8 years. He reached into it, not gently, not passively, the way he did during cultivation. He reached in and pulled. It was subtle, a shift in the soil, a tightening of root threads around the creature's front ankles. Not enough to trap it, not enough to hold it, but enough to make it stumble. One front foot caught on a root that hadn't been there a second ago. The creature's weight shifted awkwardly. Its head dropped. William was already moving. He went low, sliding under the thorn beast's lowered head, Verdanth held horizontally, the blade's green shimmer bright in the creature's shadow. He drove the sword upward into the exposed throat. Experience gain. Massive. The thorn beast's life force was dense, concentrated, nature-aspected, and Verdanth drank it like water. The creature thrashed. A hind leg caught William in the ribs, the same ribs that had met the tree. Pain exploded through his side. He held on, twisted the blade. The thorn beast made a sound like a tree falling, a long, grinding groan, and collapsed. He pulled Verdanth free and rolled clear. Lay in the dirt, breathing hard, his side screaming, his shoulder bleeding, his mana channels singing with absorbed experience. He stayed on the ground for a full minute, staring at the bioluminescent canopy, processing. His first real fight against a serious opponent. Not a wolf, not a goblin, a level 20 armored predator with ranged attacks and a hide like a castle wall. He'd won, barely. Through a combination of earth manipulation, misdirection, and a magic sword that did things no blade in the current era was supposed to do. He'd also been hit twice. The ribs were going to bruise badly. The shoulder gash needed cleaning, and if the thorn beast had launched its dorsal thorns 1 second later, one of them would have been in his throat. Theory met reality. Reality was uglier. The Moonveil Moss grew in a cave. He found it 2 hours deeper into the forest, in a depression between two massive root systems that had grown together over centuries to form a natural hollow. The hollow opened into a cave. Not deep, maybe 20 feet, but completely dark. No bioluminescent fungi here, no light at all, just blackness and the faint silver glow of the moss itself. The problem was the den. The cave was occupied. He could feel it through the verdant root, 3 signatures inside, warm, dense, moving in the tight patterns of sleeping creatures. Not the thorn beast. Something else. Lighter weight, different distribution. Divine sage. What's in the cave? Level 14-16. 3 of them, sleeping. He was level 19 now, and they were below his range. He could probably take them in a straight fight. Probably wasn't good enough. He sat outside the cave entrance for 10 minutes thinking. The stalkers were asleep. The moss was inside. He needed to get in, harvest 2 bundles with the silver knife, and get out without waking them. He could use the roots, not to attack. That would wake them, to mask his presence. The verdant root let him sense the living world, but it also let him blend with it. If he cycled mana in the forest's natural rhythm, matching the ambient flow, his own life signature would fade into the background, like a chameleon, like a plant. He wasn't a plant. He wasn't sure this would work. But the theory was sound, divine sage confirmed it, and the alternative was fighting 3 predators in a confined space with already bruised ribs. He closed his eyes, slowed his breathing, matched the verdant root cycle to the forest's ambient mana pulse. In, out, draw, release. It was pitch black. He couldn't see, but he didn't need to see. The verdant root mapped every surface, every texture, every life signature in the space. The stalkers were 8 feet to his left, curled in a pile of fur and tails, breathing slow and deep. The moss was on the walls around him, silver-green in his mana sense, cool and faintly humming. He moved. 1 step, 2, 3. Slowly, carefully. His bare feet made no sound on the stone floor. His mana signature was a whisper in the forest's song. He reached the wall, drew the silver knife. The moss glowed faintly at his approach. It was sensing his mana, reacting to the proximity of a second cut, another cluster, another bag, third. One of the stalkers stirred. The stalker lifted its head, yawned, turned its ears toward the far wall, away from William. Its eyes were closed. It was half asleep, reacting to some dream or instinct, not to his presence. It put its head back down. Its breathing slowed. William didn't exhale for another 30 seconds. He emerged into the hollow and let out a breath that he felt in his bruised ribs. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from the sustained concentration of maintaining the mana blend for 15 minutes while performing precise work in pitch darkness next to 3 predators. 2 bundles, 3 total, with the one from the spirit binding trip. Moonveil Moss, complete. First ingredient done, 4 to go. The walk back was when it caught up with him. The adrenaline drained, the pain flooded in. His ribs, he was almost certain now that at least one was cracked. The thorn beast's headbutt and the subsequent kick had done real damage. Every breath was a knife in his side. His shoulder gash had crusted over but throbbed with every step. The graze on his face stung where sweat ran into it. And there was something else, something he hadn't expected. Not physically, not his body, his mind. The creature's eyes, amber, flat, animal. It hadn't been evil. It hadn't been a monster in the moral sense. It had been an animal defending its territory, and he'd killed it because he needed to get through, because his timeline didn't allow for detours. He'd killed before. Wolves, shadow cats, boars, the goblin boss. But those kills had been instinctive, fast, reactive, adrenaline-fueled. The thorn beast was different. He'd planned it, analyzed its weaknesses, manipulated its footing, driven a blade into its throat while it was off balance. Calculated murder, even if the target was a beast. His adult mind, the engineer from another life, understood that this was necessary. People killed. He walked through the outer forest, past the territory he knew, toward the road to Thorngate. The morning light filtered through the canopy, warm and golden, indifferent to the blood on his shirt and the crack in his ribs and the dead thorn beast decomposing in the deep woods. Get used to it, he told himself. There are 4 more ingredients, and every one of them is harder than this. He got used to it. He arrived at the forge at mid-morning looking like he'd been pulled through a thorn bush, which technically he had. Garrick looked up from the anvil, took one look at William's face, and set down his hammer. What happened? You don't look like you won. I don't feel like I won either. He sat on the workbench, holding his ribs. But I got what I needed. 2 bundles of Moonveil Moss. First ingredient is complete. Garrick crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled William's shirt aside to examine the shoulder wound. His dwarf hands were gentle despite their size. Decades of handling hot metal had given him a light touch when he chose to use it. Cracked. Maybe broken. Breathe deep. William tried. The pain made him gasp. He cleaned the shoulder wound, applied the salve, and wrapped William's torso with a strip of cloth. The ribs were bound tight. The pressure helped. First ingredient, Garrick said, working the bandage. What's next? Abyssal salt. Mid-level dungeon. I need to be level 20 minimum before I attempt it. That's a few weeks of hunting. Sunheart route. Ashfall Mountains. Level 25. Months away. And the fox woman? Has 4 years. Maybe less. Then we'd better get you to level 20, Garrick said. Rest today. Eat. Tomorrow, I'll show you how to use that fancy spirit sword of yours without getting kicked in the ribs. You know sword fighting? I know fighting. 60 years of forge work means 60 years of dealing with people who think dwarves are easy targets. He picked up his hammer. Rest. That's not a request. As he drifted toward sleep, he felt Verdanth hum beside him, the sword leaning against the wall, resonating with the forge's warmth and the living earth beneath the floor. The worm's spirit was quiet, patient. It had been in the blade for 3 days now, and it was settling in, finding its rhythm, becoming part of the sword's identity. You and me, he thought at it. We've got work to do. The sword hummed back. Or maybe that was the forge. Hard to tell.